What if I told you that I was able to place an entry at about here, just ahead of this huge move? And this happened on June 11th at 1:28 p.m. and it rallied the markets index wide. So this chart right here is of the SPY chart, and it tracks the S&P 500. So the news dropped at 1:28 p.m. that Trump would be canceling the strikes that he was talking about the day before, that he was going to destroy Iran heavily, if they weren't able to come to an agreement with him. And I was able to get this news on top tier Newswire right here. As you can see, this was the headline that drove the markets upwards. And it wasn't just the indexes, all the other major stocks like Apple, Microsoft, any stock really did have a huge rally right when this happened. But essentially, this is the piece right here. This is the money. This announcement right here where he says he's canceling the strikes. This is what rallied the markets to make this huge epic move upwards. And depending on what you traded, whether if it was options or call options specifically, you could have made a huge amount of money. I'm talking upwards of 100 to 1,000%, depending on the timing, the strike price, and all of those other variables. But with top tier Newswire, I was able to get the jump on it. And this is how the terminal looks. Basically, you have your main Newswire feed over here, and it's separated by categories. So, M&A, which is merger and acquisition, Fed and central bank, macro, geopolitical and war, earnings, product releases and PR from companies, analysts, POTUS, which is basically all things President Trump, and from Truth Social. So, for instance, you click on this, you get straight to the source. Boom, there we go. There's the Truth Social page for it. And then lastly, watch list, which tracks all the things that you add to your watch list. So if any news is tagged to a ticker, like over here, Apple, this about the iOS, it's tagged correctly and it has a AI rated score, just digesting and processing whether it's bullish or bearish and assigning a numerical score 1 through 100. But top tier Newswire was the place where I got this edge and I was able to place a trade and have that on my screen ahead of most people. Aside from just being a really good Newswire, you also have an X feed that's plugged into some of the best financial accounts that make updates, such as like Bessie Letter, Reuters, Benzinga, First Squawk. But there's a lot more to this platform. So there's even an AI model that digests all the news that comes into the top tier platform and it makes recommendations. And it does give a thesis and analysis as to why. So you can see here bullish alignment news, Congress buying, and then it has like a quick summary as to why, and it'll show the performance since the calls. Most of these have been in the positive. Some are obviously negative trades. Let's go over to the short tab because it does make recommendations on the short side. So, with SMCI, this was a big winner, 27.5%. That's huge. And, there are some losers, of course, there's bound to be, but look at the cumulative success over here. We have 12%, another 12%, 7 is really solid stuff, and it's breaking it down. It's analyzing everything that comes into the platform. So, an AI is not a guru, but when it's equipped with really high quality data, it can do great things. Continuing with the rest of the platform on this walkthrough, you have a fear and greed indicator gauge, which links straight to CNN markets. And, this is a good quick read on how the markets are feeling, sentiment read. And then over here we have insider activity. So this is just the all view where it shows the sells and the buys color coded red and green accordingly. And you see here, you can catch some pretty big trades that insiders are making. Like this was $1 million right here. Conversely, you have the same for the sells. Like for instance, you have Roku. When it made that big move on June 12th, there were some sells at 144 mark, which is pretty big, and that's for 1.4 mil. Over here also, there was another sell at the 130 price, 3.25 mil. So these are some pretty big trades, and it's good to have them to make high conviction trades using that data. So the next thing that's also available is congressional trades. So this is going to follow all the smart money or the Capitol Hill moves. These people have a big advantage over retail. Some of these people also have influence on policies that impact their investments. So being able to track these is just as powerful and important. You have the buys, the sells, all of that. And then also here, you're able to search, put like ticker, for instance, see if it matches, comes up on there. So next you have a trending stocks tab, and over here you'll get the ability to monitor the biggest movers on the gainers and the losing side, as well as top trending tickers based on sentiment and activity, buzz online. And like I said, with Roku, made a big move on Friday the 12th. You can click here to get direct access to the chart from Yahoo Finance and some other information, which is very helpful. And then you have an earnings calendar, and because today is Sunday, there's nothing there. But if we were to move forward across the week, you'll get information for the company's reporting per day, and then it's going to give you some information when available on if it's pre-market or after hours release, and then also some EPS estimates. It was very helpful to just track and forecast ahead, make trades based on earnings reports. And then lastly, we have an S&P heat map, which when the market's open, this will be flashing and show all the different changes in the prices, as well as it's broken down by sector. So you have tech, of course, financials. You have everything else here: healthcare, communication, cyclical, consumer goods, industrials, energy, and so forth. And this is just to get a good read on the market, just to see what's happening broken down by sector. Even if you're not an active day trader and you want to get some information for your investments and you're more passive with trading, Top Tier Newswire acts as a great database and library for you to search any ticker of interest or any term, and you'll get straight to it. So let's just do Microsoft, for example. Over here you'd get all the things that are tagged with Microsoft, and you'd get the story, you'd get the headline right here, the preview, the source, and then you could just jump straight to it. And then there you go, you're taken to the full story where you're able to read it all. So this works really good for just identifying things, like say you're interested in lithium, for instance, like to invest in lithium stocks, and you want to see what's new with anything lithium related. You're going to get all the updates with anything that's, has the term that matches. So it's really good in working in that manner as well. It's very useful, huge value driver. But that's a quick walkthrough of what's available on Top Tier Newswire. I've been really loving the platform and hope you guys check it out. So thanks for watching. It's been a pleasure.